Welcome back to Gyro Dynamics. Okay, one more video before I start playing some World of Warcraft. And again, I'm going to try to record at least the opening sequence of it, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I did want to do a political video. I haven't done a political video in almost 20 days. So for all of you that were enjoying my political videos, and I know I did have some people subscribe for that, so I do apologize for taking so long to get back to it. I'm going to go ahead and do kind of like a big catch-up video right here, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, stick around. If you're not interested in the politics side of this channel, feel free to head on out, but the title should say political video, so you probably didn't click on this if you weren't interested in that to begin with. So let's talk about stuff. There's so much stuff has happened in the last 20 days. Let's see here. So okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of my posts that I've done and kind of do a video kind of talking about some of the things that I've talked about in my posts, and that'll kind of jog my memory about the political stuff going on. But this thing is actually not super political. It is, but it isn't. It was the Olympics, but it isn't also. So I used to watch the Olympics when I was younger, but I haven't really paid attention much in a good decade or two. But there was so many little controversies, and I just didn't understand why people care so much. There's so many more important things going on in the world than the Olympics. But that opening ceremony was pretty trippy. It was kind of unnecessary. I know that they've gone back and forth about whether it was the Last Supper or not. It definitely looked like that was the thing that they were trying to insinuate or trying to but it could have also been the other feast that they were talking about. And the one character was definitely the one of the pagan gods or whatever. And so yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I think that it was a little too close to home on that. But at the same time, I'm not the target audience, and I don't know who was, but I'm definitely not. I don't appreciate the fact that there were kids up there while there were some scantily clad. It doesn't even really matter that they were transgender or not even transgender, but like drag queens. They were scantily clad is the problem, and one of them apparently is balls were hanging out or something crazy, right? But I just didn't understand the big hullabaloo. There we go. I got the word right. All right. So, but I don't care much about the Olympics. I just think that, if you're going to make something where you're purposely trying to be controversial, don't get upset when people get upset about your controversial thing that you made specifically to be controversial. And people are allowed to be upset about these things. Don't act like, oh my goodness, you're such a bigot because you're upset about it. No, you wanted people to be upset about it. People got upset about it. They're right. They're entitled to their feelings about it if they feel like it is blasphemous or if it's disrespectful of their religion. People are allowed to be upset about these things. Do you have to cater to that? No, you don't have to cater to that. But just know that, if you're trying to make someone upset and they get upset, then you shouldn't be acting like the victim at all. You're not the victim. All right, moving on. All right, wasn't there something else from the Olympics too? The boxing thing. I don't even want to touch on it too much. It's such a complicated subject because, yeah, if it was just a simple case of, we have another transgender athlete, then I would be speaking out against it. But it's so much more complicated than that because of the situation where it's, she's kind of both. But the real question in my head is, what's her testosterone levels look like? Because if her testosterone levels exceed what they would allow someone who didn't have the XY chromosome, one of the other female boxers, if her testosterone level exceeded that would be considered normal, she shouldn't be boxing against women, other women, basically. And that's kind of my take on it is, just make sure it's fair, but it's too complicated to just say it's wrong, because I don't know the intricacies of it, and I know that people jump to conclusions. And then they tried to evolve with it, but the people who were offended by their conclusions didn't want to evolve along with it, and they were just crying about, oh, you didn't get her gender right because she's not just a transgender. She has XY chromosomes, and she was born a woman, and she is a woman, but she has, balls too or something. I don't know. It's, like I said, too complicated. Anyways, moving on. All right. What else? We were doing pretty good in the Olympics, and I think in the end, I think we had the most medals, but I think China ended up edging us out in the number of golds, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But good job, USA. Again, not following it super close, but if I'm watching it, I'm going to root for the US no matter what, right? All right. I think that's it. I think that's all I can move on from that. The viral meme guy, no, let me touch on that. The shooter in the shooting competition guy, that guy's awesome. And I enjoyed the pictures, I enjoyed the memes. What I didn't enjoy were people trying to be all like, oh, but he had a female partner. That's not, they weren't focused on the fact that he was the best. He got silver, which is great. But he wasn't the best. It was just, he was a fun character, he was freaking just chill. And just at the Olympics, chill. And so, no, it didn't have to do with his female partner who he won silver with. So stop pretending to be a victim. You're not a victim. Stop it. All right, moving on from the Olympics altogether. Other than the breakdancing, that was terrible. Terrible. Aussie man and your Australia lady dancer who did terrible breakdancing. All right, moving on, really. All right, so let's see here. We have Tim Walz. Tim Walz got selected as the vice presidential nominee to run alongside Kamala Harris. Tim Walz is an extremist. He is scary as the vice president in that his beliefs are so out of whack with, traditional American values. He said one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness, as if that's the part that people are concerned about. Socialists are typically not very neighborly. They want to take from their neighbors, not give. I mean, that's the honest truth of it. They're not trying to give and take. They just want to take. They're socialists. Come on. All right. Let's see what else. Coercion. This is from Jo Jorgensen, the Libertarian nominee in 2016 or 2020 that I voted for. I voted for her in 2020. I thought she would have been a great president. Anyways, this was her post. Coercion isn't neighborliness, it's theft. True generosity isn't the government forcing you to give, it's choosing to help because you want to. That's voluntarism. Voluntarism. I think I'm pronouncing that a little bit wrong. But charity is not government taxes and forced benefits, right? Charity is you are helping people because you want to help people. Don't get those two confused. And sorry, Tim Walz, we're gonna be coming back to you more, I'm sure. You are ridiculous with your stolen valor. We'll talk about that more, I think. All right, moving on. My next post. Yeah, so this is what I said. The Dem ticket with Harrison Walz is the most extreme ticket in modern history. Apparently, Shapiro, who the governor, I think he was governor, right? Governor of Pennsylvania, wasn't chosen because he's Jewish, which is crazy to me that somehow the Democratic Party has fallen so much that they won't choose a Jewish running mate because they're Jewish. They're the ones that ran with Lieberman back in the day, Come on, what are you doing, I can't believe they're so anti-Semitic that they wouldn't choose the governor of Pennsylvania, a state you have to win. You have to win Pennsylvania, and you went with Walz over Shapiro. I'm just shocked. And then apparently the astronaut guy, Mark, why am I forgetting his name? the guy from Arizona that his wife was Gabby Giffords, right? I think was his wife, and she was shot, and then he became the senator because, I mean, that's weird how American politics is very families get elected, you know. But anyways, I'm forgetting his name. That sucks. I should know his name because he was an astronaut. It's kind of cool. But yeah, so they didn't pick him because he just wasn't extreme enough, apparently. And they kind of need to win Arizona too. But, you know, then they picked the guy from Minnesota, which, I mean, technically you need to, wait, yes, Minnesota. Technically you need to win Minnesota too, but I didn't think that was really as crucial as Arizona and Pennsylvania, but I mean, who am I, right? All right, moving on. Oh, wait. So they are both extremely anti-First Amendment, anti-Second Amendment, and even though they talk about how pro-choice they are, they're very anti-choice on everything except for abortion. They're anti-equality, anti-individual liberty, anti-life, anti-liberty, and individual freedoms, anti-liberty. Sorry about that. And opposed to the free pursuit of happiness, right? They're opposed to it. Just like Harris, they are the most extreme candidates of the modern era, and they will not be able to run on their records, so we will be seeing them avoiding questions as much as possible, which over the last 20 days we absolutely have. They have not been taking interviews. They have not been answering questions. They've even had the official nomination, and they still don't have their official policies up on their campaign website. This is what we're looking at from this ticket, is they have these policies and these positions that are so unsuccessful and so unpopular that the people that their handlers are not allowing them to put them out there in a way that people can really dig into them and see just how bad it is. All right. They stole. At this point, they stole the Dem nomination, and they're attempting to steal the election. The media and social media are in lockstep with the talking points, which is why it's so amazing that CNN is actually fact-checking him. Usually they reserve the fact checks for people on the right when they simply disagree with them, but they've been fact-checking Tim Walz. They actually looked into the fact that he's lied about his military history, which, why you were in the National Guard, Army National Guard or Army Reserves. Anyways, he was in the military for like 24 years. He had a good record to run on. I mean, it wasn't perfect. He didn't do a whole lot. It's like a reservist, so he doesn't have to be like in like the military as a full-time position. I think he was a teacher while he was doing it. He has, some questions to answer as far as like why he retired early after re-enlisting, especially with the fact that, he knew that his company was going to deploy, and he retired before they deployed, and it's that simple, So, and then to talk about how he was in wartime when he wasn't, and carrying a gun in battle, which he never was. He's lying, and so some people consider that to be stolen valor. It is what it is, And people are trying to no, he was in the military. It's not stolen valor. No, that's not entirely the way that works. He's also going around wearing a hat with Special Forces badging on it and things like that. You're pretending to be something that you weren't, even though what you were was very impressive. You should have ran on that. But no, you tried to make it more than it was. So yeah, stolen valor. All right. Harris is refusing to negotiate a debate. Okay, so at this point, let's jump ahead. Basically, they finally agreed to do the debate that Trump had negotiated with Biden, even though it wasn't with Harris. So he gave in to her and let her have the debate because she was pretending and like she was throwing a fit, like it was as if it was her debate. She was entitled to it. No, that was Joe Biden's debate. He dropped out, and now you're trying to steal the nomination, the election, and you tried to steal the debate. Trump gave it to you because he's the one who's not scared to debate. but you refuse to negotiate any other debates. She's a coward. She will not debate because she sounds like a moron anytime she talks in an unscripted manner, and even when it's scripted sometimes. Unless it's something that she feels really comfortable talking about, like socialism, because she was born and raised as a communist, she just sounds like a moron. All right, moving right along. Yeah, okay, so that's what that was talking about, is the debates. She was a coward and she's scared to debate. We've already talked about Walz and his, possible stolen valor. All right. So apparently in 2010, Walz had a approach to fixing Social Security that's very similar to Trump's current position. Now they're saying that Trump is trying to destroy Social Security, which he's not. But they're trying to say that Trump is destroying it, so they're trying to distance themselves from Walz's previous position, which he said he pretty much agreed with based on when he was running against someone else who had similar solutions, similar ideas on how to fix Social Security. But now, obviously they can't admit to that, and so, and while I think that there's ways to fix Social Security, and I've done videos on that would be better than their methods. Basically, their methods are to, go in there, try to increase retirement ages, and, figure out different ways to extend Social Security so that people do not have to have their benefits starting to be cut in 2033, I think it is. 2030, something like that, is when benefits are going to start having to be cut, just because the fund isn't going to be able to fully fund the Social Security benefits at that point. So we need to find ways to fix that. My ideas are way more expensive. Again, I've done whole videos on that. Won't talk about it now. But, at least Trump is trying. He's trying to come up with a solution. Republicans are trying to come up with a solution. Democrats just want to pretend like if they do nothing, everything will be fine. And that if you try to come up with a solution, you're just trying to destroy Social Security. Well, apparently, Walz didn't believe that when he was running for governor. So there it is. All right, moving on. All right. I posted a cartoon. I am the state. You have to pay me taxes so that I will protect you. And then the little person's all like, protect us from what? Well, from what I will do if you don't pay your taxes, of course. I'm not a big fan of taxes, as you can see. All right, this is kind of a big post, but let's try to make it as short and sweet as possible. The way that Harris was selected was not illegal or unconstitutional. It really wasn't, unfortunately. We maybe should try to incorporate some changes, like maybe pass an amendment or pass some laws that would make something like this not something that could happen in the future. We don't want parties nominating candidates and just completely ignoring the will of the people and bypassing the will of the people, forcing them to then vote for their candidate in the general election. Hopefully most people realize they aren't actually being forced to vote for Harris. They could vote for somebody else, or they could not vote. But the political parties forced Harris onto them, and that's what happened. It wasn't unconstitutional. It wasn't illegal. It was just anti-democratic. We desperately need to get rid of political parties. I've done whole videos on that. I won't go too deep into that, but we desperately need to get political parties out of the process. That's what we need to do. People should still have the freedom of speech to be a part of political parties and be able to, have political parties speak for them. But they shouldn't have anything to do with the process. They shouldn't have anything to do with debates. Nothing. All right. So apparently the transfer of the Biden campaign funds may have been illegal. It has to be decided still. It has to go through the court systems to see if it actually does violate the law. But it's kind of, again, kind of like a shady thing that they did, where they basically said, oh, well, she was the VP on the ticket, so I know you donated all your money to Biden, but we're just going to give it to Harris because she was the vice president. No, no. And then also on top of that, she got a huge lump sum of contributions right when she was named as the nominee. Not before, like before she was actually like certified at the Democratic convention. But as soon as she was named the nominee, then she started getting all these campaign contributions, like record levels. Why? Because they were withholding them from Biden, and that's one of the reasons why, or one of the ways they were able to force Biden to finally step aside and let Harris take over, because people were not donating the money to him that they would normally donate, and they were holding it until it switched over to Harris. It's kind of ruthless, but that's what they did. All right. Again, I was talking about the debates. She lied about the debates over and over again, very entitled. Um, Trump finally gave in and like said, you know what, I'm not scared to debate you. I'll debate you at this debate. I just also would like to have other debates, and she's terrified. She won't do it. She's a coward. Walz absolutely lied about his military record. We've talked about that. Vance did not lie about his military record, but the Dems are trying to make that, like, they're trying to compare the two, right? Because, Walz served for 24 years and Vance served for 4 years. Vance never lied about it. Vance said he served 4 years, he did his tour, and then he got out and he went to school. He went to law school, right? So he didn't lie about it. He has never bragged about all the stuff that he's done in the military. He was a Marine. We know that he was a Marine, but it's never been like, oh, I did all this stuff, I'm so important, I'm a veteran, all these different things. No, it's very, very muted, because that's really how Marines act. All the Marines I know, anyways, they don't want to be, put up on a pedestal for serving their country. He's more like that. Walz is more like, look at how great and important I am, right? Also, Walz didn't actually serve in combat. Vance did. He was a Marine, an actual Marine, as opposed to, the reserve, and not serving in, combat. Okay. But he didn't lie about any of it either. Trump didn't either. Yes, Trump is probably a draft dodger, kind of used some medical issues that maybe weren't as cut and dry as you'd like them to be. I know, and now mind you, it wasn't a draft. I did want to go into the military out of high school. Kind of. I was a musician. I was a drummer, and I wanted to go to be into the military band, the Marine Corps band. And I knew I was going to need to lose weight because I was overweight as a teenager. But and I took the officer test. I aced it because I was more of a nerd than anything. I was super smart, but I did really good on the test. They told me I was going to have to lose weight on my own even before I went to boot camp, and I knew that was going to be really tough. And then I found out that I might, in the end, get disqualified because I have flat feet. So I know that, him talking about his feet, I think maybe he said he had bone spurs, something, could possibly disqualify you from the draft. But yeah, it's probably maybe a little bit of shenanigans to get him out of the draft. But here's the thing. Trump never, bragged about any sort of military service because he wasn't in the military. So it's not like he was lying about it. So you can't even compare the two. Anyways, moving on. Oh. Oof. I need to get this video wrapped up. I have something I need to do before I get to play World of Warcraft even more. All right. Let's see here. And then the jokes about Vance, the couch humping and stuff is so weird, right? And, calling him weird is weird. But they were jokes. It was obviously jokes, and that's fine. But some people really believed it. And then when the Republicans tried to do a weird joke about Walz and how he like was a horse fucker or something like that, right? Um, Obviously, it was jokes. They weren't great jokes, but they were jokes. And like Dems got super offended. Like it was like they aren't saying he really did that. You do realize that Vance didn't really fuck a couch, and he didn't really fuck a horse. They're just making stupid, immature jokes. Anyways, really stupid. All right, moving on. All right. But yeah, so they're playing the victim about the jokes. It was so weird. Anyways, we really need Harrison Walls to lose. They're going to continue down this path that we see in like England with taking people as political prisoners because of free speech, or saying stuff that they deemed as inappropriate. We need to stop this, and we need to stop it now. All right, moving on to my next post. Not that one. Mama, I killed a mouse, slapped him right across his head. His remains are on your bed. Oh, that's a totally different post. I like little meme pictures. I share them sometimes. Anyways, it's cats doing Queen. Yeah, I know. I'm a dork. All right. I did a post where I was talking about, how people will tell you to Google something. Like what? You can't just Google it. No, sometimes you can't, because Google is hecka biased. So much so that even more recently, since that post, there was the whole fake ads that weren't real ads, and then they like just pushed them out there without saying they were ads for Harris. Google is terrible as far as that goes, and I've known this for 2 decades, knowing that trying to search up anything that like supported like a conservative position is like pulling teeth. Anyways, Google's been terrible for a long time. No, we can't always just Google it. And no, your fact checkers are not unbiased either. They're not. All right. Everything's biased. Everything is biased. Walls is an extremist with a terrible history of lying. We've kind of really already talked about that. Oh, my band's shows. Same plan, spot the difference. So I pointed out that CBS News, but like this happens across like all different media sources, not just CBS News. Like basically, Trump had come out with his plan of not taxing tips. Harris then went and stole the plan and tried to come out with her plan, even though she doesn't put out details, saying that she also doesn't think that we should tax tips, even though she cast the deciding vote, which made sure that we do tax tips, because they were trying to pull the taxing the tips, and I think she cast the vote to make sure that that didn't happen, something like that. Anyways, so the two different headlines were this. Former President Donald Trump vows to stop taxing tips, would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. Very negative, right? Obviously, because it's Trump, so any headline about Trump is going to be negative. Then you have Harris. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position, saying she'll fight to end the taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Very positive, because everything that they put out about Harris is going to be positive. That's just how it works. They are biased. They want their headlines to be biased. Now, if you read the articles, it probably goes into both the bad side of not taxing tips and the good side of not taxing tips. But as far as headlines and trying to really kind of bias people, that's the kind of thing you see. Same plan, same news agency, completely different style of headlines. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we deal with as conservatives. We have been for a long time. Body Count put out a new song that was very political and basically like telling both parties to go kick rocks. I liked it. It was good stuff. Good job, Ice-T. All right, moving on. All right, here's it. Oh my goodness, this post is really big. All right, a friend brought up. Okay, shoot. Hold on, let me do a little comment here to my brother so that I can make sure that. right, sorry about that. Okay, a friend brought up to me that I should make it clear that I know there's bias coming from the right as well. So here's the thing. Me and my friend, we try to avoid talking about politics because we had to take a hiatus from our friendship for a while. He did, because politics can sometimes get in between that sort of thing, and so he was just really irritated because I used to post a lot. I post much less now, and I really do need to calm down. I've kind of been ramping up the last couple days. Need to calm down a bit. Anyways, that's not really what Facebook should be for. Anyways, whatever. But he wanted me to make it clear that bias comes from both sides, and I mean, of course, bias comes from both sides. Bias comes from everything. Bias comes from Google. Bias comes from fact checkers. Bias comes from me. Bias comes from him. Bias comes from everything, right? And so you just need to understand that there is bias. And then, an organization will say Fox News, right? Fox News kind of leans towards the right. You would expect their bias to be right-leaning. Sometimes it's not, though. Sometimes their bias is more of a left-leaning bias. And we've seen that more and more lately. But that's, you don't want to just automatically assume, because the source is typically right or left-leaning, that it's always right or left-leaning. So, anyways, that's kind of what that post was. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? If you don't know my biases are like a Libertarian Party bias. I'm a libertarian, right? More of a conservative-leaning libertarian, but a libertarian. So that's where my bias comes from. If you didn't know, that's where it is. I'm in the Libertarian Party. I'm not a Republican. Definitely not a Democrat, but I'm not a Republican. I voted for a Libertarian president in the last 3 or 4 presidential elections. And then, but right now I have a bias towards Trump. And I do. I'm not a MAGA person. I don't identify as MAGA. I don't support everything that is under that banner. And I don't worship Trump. But right now I'm supporting Trump because it's so bad on the Harris side of things that I'm just really worried about her getting elected. And 2, I'm not feeling passionate about Chase Oliver. I know. He's not terrible, but he's just not my cup of tea. And so I don't feel like I need to vote for him like I did with Jorgensen. I really like Jorgensen, and so I don't feel like I need to vote for Chase Oliver. So I am going to vote for Trump today. RFK Jr. dropped out, or technically dropped out. He kind of did something a little bit more complicated than that, but that's fine. I'll probably do a separate video on that at some point. But basically endorsed Trump, and that's amazing. And I was kind of considering voting for him, and I still might by the way that things happen, because I'm in California. It might make sense to vote for him in California. We'll see. Probably not, but more than likely I'll vote for Trump. But anyways, I do have a bias towards Trump right now. All right, moving on. I focus usually on the negatives of Harris and Walz, but I do want to focus on the positives of Trump. But, seeing as how I haven't been the hugest, biggest Trump supporter all these years, it's a little tough. And my focus is a lot on the negatives of Harris. But I will also criticize her for doing the same thing, and for Democrats for doing the same thing. Their focus is on Trump as opposed to the positives of Harris. So I do want to focus on the positives of Harris. So let's take a look. He was a good president during his 4 years. Now, mind you, he had to deal with COVID at the end, so it was mostly a really good 3 years and then a COVID 4th year. And when you look at the 8 years prior to him and the 4 years after him, it's even stronger. He had a strong presidency on the economy, on lots of things. The border. Hey, are you going to go with Jacob and Cyrus to Cyrus's game?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, they're going to come get the car here in a little bit.
All right, what time?
Probably, did he say, like 5:15, 5:20?
5:15?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
Yeah. So they'll be coming down shortly to get the.
Huh?
They'll be coming down shortly to get the keys in the car, and you can just go with them. I think. Okay. All right. So gas prices, inflation, prices of food, groceries, everything was really kind of better during Trump's term, including his fourth term when he was dealing with COVID. So, even more so. He did lower taxes. He simplified the tax code. He could do a lot better his second term. Hopefully he will. So I wasn't I did approve of them, but I wished he had done more. And I do hope he does more in his second term. I really think they need to pass a balanced budget. A balanced budget amendment would be even cooler. It'd be cool if you did. And hopefully they do pass that. At least pass the balanced budget. Please, please, please pass it. Let's get us there. Let's get us on the right path, right? Okay, moving on. Let's see, some of the other things he did. Well, obviously his nominations to the Supreme Court were way better than I was expecting them to be. That was one of the biggest reasons I didn't vote for him in 2016, is I didn't think he was going to be able to nominate good judges. I thought that he didn't have that in him. I honestly thought that he might nominate his sister. It's just stuff like that, that I really thought about Trump back in 2016. But he proved me wrong. He did a pretty good job. I mean, they're not perfect. They will make decisions that I don't always agree with, but overall, they were solid Supreme Court justices. They have been solid Supreme Court justices. He did a pretty good job, and I would really like him to have 4 more years to be able to replace possibly Clarence Thomas. And we'll see. We'll see if anybody else leaves the court during his 4 years, but that's the only one I'm really looking at. Okay. What else? Defense and peace around the world. Holy crap, he so much better than everybody gave him credit for. Even his supporters, he made sure that we didn't get into any new conflicts. He handled the current conflicts. He helped the world have peace negotiations. He talked to people that we haven't talked to in forever, and things were just so much better as far as the peace around the world. And now we're so close to World War III just from 4 years of Biden. It's just so crazy. I don't know how you could possibly support Biden and now Harris, knowing how much better it was during Trump's 4 years. Even better than Obama. Obama was supposedly this big Nobel Peace Prize winning president. No, things were way worse under Obama around the world. Anyways, Trump did amazing at that, and I'm really looking forward to his second term, trying to get things back in line. The border security, he cut down illegal immigration tons while he was in office, and I think we need him back to help secure the border again. All right. Individual liberties, he's a much stronger candidate on individual liberties. He definitely needs some improvement on his Second Amendment credentials, as Kyle Rittenhouse said previously, and kind of got himself into some trouble with saying that he was going to write in Ron Paul of all things. But yes, definitely Trump could be better on the Second Amendment. But as far as individual liberties, just way head and shoulders above Harris. All right. What other issues should I look into? And then I made a follow-up post because of some of the other issues I thought of and people brought up to me. So let's kind of touch on those. A couple additional issues. All sources have bias. Yeah, okay, I talked about that one. Also, two more positives are we're just safer in general, crime-wise, and the fact that we're going to have less crime coming across our borders. Just kind of in general, things are a lot safer with Trump in office. And then the other one was the financial liberty. He's much better on issues like crypto and making sure we're not going to have a government digital currency. We really want to avoid that. He's much better on those issues. All right, moving along. We still, and I made this post on the 16th, we still don't have the details of Harris's economic plan. She did talking points, and the media spread it and, did their bias thing and tried to make it sound like it was amazing. But honestly, we don't really have the details. We know that she wants to do setting pricing and another huge first-time homebuyer credit, like way bigger than the last one, which had so many problems. I could do a video solely on that. In fact, I think I will. I think I'll go ahead and separate out a video. I won't do it today, but I'm going to do a video on the economic policies. Hopefully by the time I do that video, she actually puts it out. But she is terrible on the economy, and you want to know why? It's because she is a communist. She was born and raised by two communists. She is a communist. Economics under communism is the worst. It just really is. So, of course, her plans for fixing the economy and fixing inflation would make it worse. Anyways, moving on. I want to do a separate video on that. Hopefully, we get her plan. I'm going to see a bunch of bands. That could be a separate video talking about all the bands I'm going to see, but I'll probably wait till after I see it. It's going to be like 2 months of me just seeing tons of bands, and I'm going to be exhausted afterwards, but lots of fun. Lots of fun. I'm excited. My birthday month, I'm going to go see Korn for my birthday. How amazing is that? 30th anniversary Korn show the day after my birthday. So amazing. All right, let's see here. Yes, make sure you guys get fixed rate 15-year mortgages. Make sure your mortgage payment is less than 25% of your monthly take-home pay. While this is great advice, it's almost impossible these days, but still great advice, Dave Ramsey. I love it. 15-year fixed rate, less than 25% of your budget. Those are the goals. I don't think you can get those these days, but those are the goals. Them's the goals. Hopefully Trump can fix things and make that possible again. Oof, another big post. Yeah, I was doing like big posts like every other day instead of like smaller posts. So let's see, what did I put here? They're holding their convention. They're having the farce of a nomination. They nominated Harris. It's all, I've talked about this already. It's just, they forced Biden out. They made sure that there was no primary. It's terrible. They're so anti-democratic. In fact, one of my later posts is that their new policy, kind of like similar to a Bush policy, was the Dems' new slogan is, "We've abandoned democracy so that we can save democracy." They're terrible. All right. We've talked about the funds, all of the free advertising from Google and media. Like, if you're so worried about money in politics, maybe you should be worried about the free stuff too. But no, that's why you're worried about money in politics, because it's the only thing that kind of like equalizes it and makes it fair for Republican and conservative candidates. She plans to lower costs on food, housing, healthcare, and childcare with her price controls, because she thinks that people are price gouging with their 2 to 3% margins. So stupid. Child tax credit is fine. I don't mind the child tax credit. I'm very familiar with it. I do think it helps. I would prefer a non-refundable child tax credit, but refundable tax credits are okay. There's a lot of fraud that goes along with refundable tax credits. So keep that in mind. A lot of fraud. People basically steal this money. Now, not everybody, obviously, plenty of people that need this money and deserve this money get it. But yeah, it's a lot of fraud. A lot of people are stealing this money. That's why non-refundable credits are always better. First-time homebuyer credit is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. We've already done it. It already went terribly. What are you thinking? And it's way bigger than last time. So stupid. All right. Her plan makes no mention of Social Security again, like as if it's just fine, like nothing's wrong with it. Just don't talk about it. Apparently, she thinks her plan is stark contrast to Trump's plan, but she has stolen some of Trump's ideas, like the no tax on tips. All of this while huge increases to the deficit debt and increases to deficits, debits, and inflation, all while under her watch as the vice president. She's explained that she hasn't explained why she was okay, this is crazy. She hasn't explained why she was at the Democratic Party office on January 6th and not in the Capitol or with the Senate and the House doing the whole business of trying to certify the election, which you think she would play a part in, right? Because she's the vice president, so she's a tie-breaking vote, and she could take a part in the debate, right? But she wasn't there. She was at a Democratic Party office where they found a pipe bomb prop, by the way, a pipe bomb prop that wasn't able to even detonate. Someone placed it for whatever reason. We don't know why. We don't know who. And the party office won't release camera footage. It's craziest thing, and we have no clue why it happened or what exactly happened. And she hasn't explained any of it. And she's going to be she's running for president. It's crazy. It's crazy, child. It's crazy. Oh my gosh, so crazy. All right. It was possibly placed there by law enforcement. Possibly a Secret Service agent even placed the fake pipe bomb there. What is going on? All right. Harris also is a drunk. I don't know that she's an alcoholic per se, but she is drunk at all of these campaign stops. She's hecka slurring her speech in live speeches, not like when they accused Trump of slurring his speech on the Elon Musk conversation, but it was really just the technology that made it sound like that. No, Harris is actually in live speeches slurring her speech. She, there's cops making videos and making comments and saying if they pulled her over, they would definitely check her blood alcohol level because she sounds drunk. It's crazy. It's crazy, child. It's crazy. All right, what else? What else? This video is super long. How long is it right now? 46 minutes. I'm sorry about that, guys. Who's watching this? Who is watching this? All right, moving along. She wants to ignore issues of her racial and sexual history. The media wants you to ignore those as well. She's bounced back and forth on what it is that she claims and, or promotes. We know that she is biracial. Okay. Anyways, we know that she is biracial. There's no question about that. Her dad was Jamaican. Her mom was Indian. Indian. Not Native American, obviously. And yeah, so it's one of those things where it's we know this, but what we're saying is that she didn't promote being black until now. It wasn't like a big deal. She didn't put it out there as much as she talked about how she was, Southeast Asian, or I think Indians consider themselves Southeast Asian. Anyways, she pushed that she was Indian more than the fact that she was African American or black, because technically, she was Jamaican. Her dad was Jamaican, but I guess you could still call her African American. I don't know, whichever term that she wants to go by. But yeah, that's it. But it's not a big deal either. I don't want to keep harping on it. I don't think that Donald Trump should keep harping on it. Point it out, move along. I think it's well known among the African American community that she just is playing a part, and that they don't really see her as part of their community as much. Trump just needs to leave it alone. It's not a big deal. Her sexual history, also not a huge deal, but yeah, she did do some sleeping her way to the top. It's known. It's not a secret, right? We don't need to focus on that. It's not that big of a deal, but she wouldn't be where she is today if she hadn't done that. That's just the way it is. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It just is. All right, moving on. Oh, Biden. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much. He shouldn't still be president. He should have stepped down. He hasn't. He barely is out in public. When he is, he's obviously struggling. I don't know. He's obviously not governing as president. I don't know what's going on with that. They just need to have him step down, let Harris take over, and then she can run as the current president. just get Biden out of there. It's dangerous. Also, of course, now the House is finding that he has impeachable offenses. Of course, he's had those since the beginning. You could have easily moved forward with an actual impeachment, but you didn't. And they, they kept shutting it down. Now it's too late. Leave it alone. Stop. We don't care. When they tried to impeach Trump at the end, it was stupid. This is stupid. Let's just move on. He should have been impeached a long time ago. It's too late now. Move on. All right. All right. Now, the new guy on the national stage, Walz. Okay, he looks like he has a drinking problem too. I kind of mentioned that here. He looks like he's drunk oftentimes. He has the super red face that comes with, a pale guy who drinks. He has a drunk driving history where he lied to the police officers who were arresting him for drunk driving. He's also lied about his military record. He let Minneapolis burn to the ground while he was the governor. He sent around roving bands that were enforcing curfews by shooting paintballs at people. What in the actual fuck is that? Really? He was shooting paintballs at people to keep them in their houses? Really? Crazy. Crazy, child. Crazy. He was shutting down free speech. He was shutting down, the ability to go to religious services. He's anti-constitution, anti-liberty, anti-individual rights, anti-free speech, anti-religious freedom, anti-Second Amendment. This guy is terrible. He is not a moderate. They could have chosen someone to moderate the ticket. They chose him. They chose an extremist. They avoided the Jewish candidate. I've talked about this already. It's not good. It is not good. All right, moving on. We see corruption across European and South America in their elections. And we're allowed to call those out, but for some reason we weren't allowed to call the corruption in our own election system out. Now, the biggest problem is the lead up, and we're dealing with that again with the, trying to steal elections through media and social media. But, we can call out the corruption, the fraud in our elections, just like we can do it with other countries. I don't understand why we are able to do it about other countries and not our own. However, Trump needs to keep moving forward, showing his strength, showing that, he's stronger than most politicians of my lifetime. He's been shot. He's been arrested. He's been put on trial. All these different things to try and keep him down. And he's still going. He's still unafraid to give interviews. He's unafraid to do campaign rallies. He's unafraid to have debates. This man is the man that we need to be the president. And Harris is just terrified of all these things. She's the complete opposite. And Vance is solid too. It just he's not like, I'm not super familiar with all this stuff about him, but like everything I know about him is solid. And for them to make fun of him, it's just ridiculous. He's not weird. He is completely normal, and the guy is, you can't fault him even on his policies. That's why they're referring to him as weird and shit. All right, moving on. Biden, in his speech, was at the convention, there was no facts. It was almost completely incoherent, and he kept lying about stuff that's been proven to be lies already, like specifically the Trump saying very fine people thing about white supremacists, saying that white supremacists were fine people. Even Snopes says that's a lie. He keeps saying it because he can't cognitively come up with a new story. He has to keep repeating stuff, otherwise he won't be able to say anything. That's kind of what happens. You keep going back to what you're comfortable with. So even though everybody knows it's a lie, he has to keep saying it. But there's hardly any fact checks on him because, they don't fact check Democrats very often. But then they finally did. CNN did a little bit of a fact check, and then they hid it on their website. You couldn't find it. It was very tough to find. You could find it, but it wasn't on the front page. Fact checking Biden's speech. Crazy. All right. Almost done, everybody. Apparently, Dems think that they can just proclaim that Trump was an insurrectionist, and they're now saying that they are going to perform an insurrection by saying that he can't be president if he wins on January 6th when it's time to certify the election. They're going to say, well, he was an insurrectionist, so we're not going to certify it. One, they're not going to be in control. They're not going to be able to do that. But just to say something as crazy as that, you got to be kidding me. No, you don't get to just declare that he was an insurrectionist. He wasn't charged. He wasn't found guilty. He's not an insurrectionist. If he wins the election, he gets to be president, and you're going to have to certify it. It's just that simple. All right, what else? Oh, I posted a big thing talking about, I'll have to do a separate, again, on her economic plans and, doing the price stuff. I'll do a separate video on that. Just a few, RFK Jr. I want to do a separate video on RFK Jr., basically stepping down. I want to do a separate video on all the things that I hate more than I hate Donald Trump, because that's what they want. They want you to hate Donald Trump more than these things like inflation. I don't. I hate inflation more than Donald Trump. I already did the whole Democratic slogan of abandon democracy to save democracy. There's a fact check on taxes, which I've done whole videos on taxes, but maybe I'll do it again. And then the whole thing with Walz's son, that was sad. People shouldn't have made fun of him. We didn't know that he had he's on the spectrum or whatever. He had some issues. So people didn't know that, but people still shouldn't have made fun of him either way. He's a kid. I think he's 17, but still, he's a kid. But Dems have no problem making fun of kids. They made fun of Kyle Rittenhouse. So they have no problem doing it. But for some reason, they get really upset if you do it. You shouldn't do it, but they do get really upset with you. So much so that, then Tim Walz goes and the next day is like physically abusing his son on freaking national television, on the national stage at the Democratic convention, yanking him across the stage, like with an angry face, like he was angry, like literally angry. What is the matter with you? And you were mad because people were making fun of your son for crying, and then you go and act like that. Just ridiculous. There is something seriously wrong with this Walz guy. Like, seriously wrong with him. All right, anything else? Yeah, again, RFK Jr., I did a post on him again, and I want to do a separate video on him. But that's it. This video has been super long, way too long. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good day.